Here to assess whether the Vice President really is just too smart to do things like, answer a straight question or solve the border crisis her policies created is Congresswoman Nancy Mace of South Carolina. I couldn't believe this. This is the explanation. She makes a complete mess of it, and it's because she's too intellectually curious. What is this about?
Well, is she intellectually curious enough to look at a map and find her way there? It's curious that, over 150 days now into Biden's presidency and our borders are, Vice President Harris has yet to visit the border. Literally, she has spent more time, Steve, addressing climate change in space than she has on addressing our border crisis. And think of this tonight. In May of this year, there were 150,000 more migrants along our border in May of this year than in May of last year. And this is a massive crisis, and she's just looking the other way.
Exactly. The numbers are just staggering. We see them. We're down there. Fox is down there. We're seeing these numbers. Bill Malugin reporting on it. You've got this just a sort of non-stop flow. Of course, all of it in response to their policies. She said it. In the campaign, she said that she wanted to have free healthcare, education, all of it's a human right, whatever it is, come in, we'll pay for it. And then now they turn around and say, oh, we want to solve the root causes. The root causes are their policies.
No, absolutely. And don't forget, Steve, that in the middle of COVID, when teachers were not teaching in classrooms, they were urging teachers to volunteer to teach migrant students out along the border and in California as well. So, and rather than American students that were left at home and left behind, even worse. And we've seen smugglers actively advertising their deals online on social media. You've got fentanyl is up over 300% at the border as well. Human trafficking and the arrest of criminals who are rapists at our border is up over 3,000%. And so this is a massive humanitarian crisis that's not being addressed at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, massive.
And the thing, I'm just really interested in your perspective. You're there in Congress. I know because we've talked about it. You want to work with people. It seems a reasonable person. You got common sense on these issues. Your Democrat colleagues there, what is the motivation behind this? People say, and you hear this a lot, that they genuinely want open borders because they believe it helps. In the end, they think it helps them politically. People come in, they end up here, and they vote Democrat. Is it really as cynical as that, in your view? It's open borders and it's H.R. 1 will help them politically. But the God's honest truth is that Nancy Pelosi has a stranglehold. She has a chokehold over the Democrats in Congress. Unfortunately, there are a few that do try to reach across the aisle and work with Republicans and Democrats alike. But they're unicorns, really. And at the end of the day, she's the most powerful woman in Congress. And she's being led by the left, and she's bullied by AOC and the Hamas squad. They're in charge as well, which is why we're seeing what many of us thought would be a moderate administration take a sharp left turn all of a sudden, doing more damage in the first 6 months than we thought possible in 4 years. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's what I was saying at the beginning. Because you've got real machine politicians in charge now in the Democratic Party. You've got Biden, Kamala Harris, Pelosi. They're machine politicians. They don't really believe in anything. They don't have values and principles. They didn't come into politics to do things, just to be somebody. And therefore, they just get blown around by wherever the pressure's coming from. And all the pressure now is coming from the activist left. They're in charge.
Right, and to be a powerful somebody. We've seen Nancy Pelosi whip votes at the door when Democrats are coming into the floor of the House when they don't have the votes in the chamber. And folks that go to Congress, they do get intoxicated with power. And it's really sad to see that happen. And you look at the U.S. Senate in the November election, this was not a mandate on socialist policy on school lunches and an infrastructure package. We have a Senate that's split 50-50. We have a House that has the slimmest majority in a generation. And they're shoving down all of these terrible policies, art and sculptures, and an infrastructure package. This is not what the November election was about.